cool.
Hello, everybody. This is Elijah Keating from wisdomseekers.net, and we're here today with Ascending with Nicola. We will take questions on topic. This is not an interactive. And before we start anything, if anybody's gone to our website, wisdomseekers.net, it is still offline. Hopefully, it will be on soon. They have found the problem. We just have to get it fixed. So, hello, Nicola. Tell me what's up with you.
Oh, hello, Elisha. So, it's a brand new day, and it feels like, this last weekend was 3 weeks long.
It was amazingly long, wasn't it?
Yeah. Seems like I did so many things, and there was plenty of day left. Which slowing down, huh?
It's a time thing. It's like do you remember that show back in the late 50s where they had the, I can't remember the name of it, but they put it on the soles of the feet and the kids would bounce up and play basketball.
Flubber.
Yeah, Flubber. Times like Flubber.
There was a pre-90s.
Yeah, they remade that show in the 90s, but I didn't watch it back then.
Yeah, I figured. I just want to say, if anybody's watching on YouTube, to give us a like if they want to, and subscribe.
Yeah, please do. Oh, wow, we've got a couple of people on already. Sometimes YouTube will tell people that we're on, and sometimes they won't. Somebody was talking to me and says, "Oh, you're alive." And I said, "Yeah, 24 hours ago."
Oh, yes.
But,
I've watched many YouTube programs, and they always say, please subscribe and hit the like button. So.
Yeah. Oh, I had at one time over 7,000, almost 7,500 subscribers, but YouTube decided I didn't need that many, so they cut me down to 6,660 or 70 now. Yeah. I don't know. YouTube is interesting, just like all the other big monopolies.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about a very interesting subject today, right?
Yeah, I think so. Talking about freedom. Okay.
Well, that fits in with the big monopolies, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, it does in many respects. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, insofar as what freedom is the opposite.
Yes, that's a good idea.
What's the opposite?
The opposite, yeah, go ahead.
Is slavery.
Or communism.
Well, I don't know about that because I'm not political. But anyway, slavery is going on constantly without our knowledge. And to me, the worst thing is a slave is, most people that are slaves know it. And then, like the human trafficking thing or whatever. And also there's this quote, I cannot remember who it was from, but the real tragedy is people who are slaves that don't know it.
And there's a lot of that right now.
And I just want to share a little story with you about one of my friend's son who was an alcoholic, and he drank quite a bit. And on the fourth time being arrested for drunk driving, he was put in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he while he was in his jail cell, he was crying out to God to show him what freedom is. So he wanted to be free. He wanted to be free. Just show me what freedom is. And he left his body. Completely left his body. And the being of light said, you are free. You don't have any liberty right now, but you are free. Free to make your choices, free to do whatever you want to do with this life. But you're not you don't have liberty right now because of your free will choice.
Yeah.
So that actually happened. They were sent back to his body, and I don't know for sure if he decided that that was a dream or a hallucination or whatever. But he did go for drinking for quite a while after he was let go. But I don't think he was ever arrested again for drunk driving because he never drove. He just stayed in his house. But I lost contact with that particular friend. But it was a very apropos way of talking about what the difference between freedom and liberty is.
Yeah. And it's very succinct too.
Yeah. So there are people who are living under communist rule or authoritarian, totalitarian governments. And I've been listening to and working with, and occasionally working with people who have lived under those regimes. And personally, they may not have liberty, but they are free spirits. They are totally amazing in what they do. So, so that's the mindset that I'd like us to think about in terms.
How Russia became Russia again. They had every day around 5 o'clock, the news would come on, and nobody listened to it because it was propaganda. So everybody would start going out for walks around 5 o'clock, and they started talking to each other. And from the grassroots rose the idea that they wanted their freedom. And that's how Russia became Russia again instead of the USSR.
Well, that's exactly right. That I don't know if anyone knows about this one spiritual teacher named Lori Spagna. She's basically an animal communicator, but she's also, we could be very, very spiritual. She was told a while back by her spirit guides that the divine government starts here with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we sort of rely on the government to make decisions for us,
we lose our power.
Yeah. So just being mad or being upset about whatever is going on doesn't really give you that freedom. So you have the freedom and the more freedom you have, the more responsibility you have.
That's true.
So those kinds of things are very important in our discernment and how we govern ourselves and how we think, how we feel, and how we move through the day. And we can be a slave to credit cards. We can be a slave to our past thinking that we're not worthy.
That's a big one.
Or that everything that's going on outside me is not my fault or not my responsibility or whatever. When
That's
in
the
fact,
finger-pointing one, isn't it?
What?
That's the finger pointing one.
Yes. So we create our lives, free or not, ourselves.
Yeah. It is a lot of how we think.
Exactly. So in order to be free, we have to think, what is that to me? What is that to you personally? And there's a lot of power in knowing and acting and grooming that within ourselves.
Yeah.
And as you were saying about the people in Russia going out at 5 o'clock to walk, I think that we need to do that as well, but maybe not at 5 o'clock, but at 24/7.
We need to group together, not necessarily to just to say no, or this is what we want.
Right. And there's propaganda is going every which way, always to Sunday, up and down the road. And so it's important to think for ourselves and not just think about what the news report says.
Well,
Because I don't know, there are
of-
very few of them that I think are objective.
that's part of the problem right now, is that
No
in
opinion.
Canada and the States, there is quite a great divide because a lot has to do because the news is not being reported completely. It's
Well,
biased.
Well, what I basically told my sister, because she listens to the news as a companion.
Mhm.
Okay. So to me, she's not listening to her internal guidance or anything else. So I started to say to her to start to walk around outside, get to know people, go places, do things. And what I was telling her that what I do for entertainment on YouTube is I watch something called Kindness, about people's reactions to each other and how they're kind to each other. And I said, this is what the reality truly is. We are really kind, generous, loving people. But the news only focuses on what is wrong, what is bad, what is not working,
Mhm.
tragedies upon tragedies, horrors upon horrors. And it makes you think, if you're really into that, that is, the humanity going to hell in a handbasket. So
Yeah, and the truth is, well, both of you and I, we work with a lot of people. And the truth is 99% of those people are really good-hearted.
oh, absolutely. And even the people that are led down that path, if they would just realize how really powerful we are as individuals, that we are divine, sovereign human beings. And as we are thinking for ourselves and are becoming blessings to each other,
Yes.
the so-called dark forces are in uproars about this.
I believe that's happening, actually. I don't know if you noticed, yesterday we had an impromptu talk on wisdom seekers.
Yeah.
And it just, Maddie says at 12, we should talk about the 12-12. And I go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 1 o'clock we jumped
Very
on.
important. I did several meditations that day. Really dedicated myself to working with spirit and really thinking about, not just thinking about, but praying about what I need to pray. There was one of them that I use that I use every Sunday. It's the Christed expansion meditation. I did that. And then also there was another one that was about the violet flame.
Oh, yeah.
And the violet flame coming to purge us of all distortions of the truth. And
we should have asked you to come on. I just figured Sunday you were probably busy, so we didn't.
oh, well, that's fine. I did quite a few meditations, and I know that a lot of other people did, because there was a lot of meditations going on yesterday during that portal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one coming up.
21st, right? Well, we're going to be on that day, right?
12, 21, 21. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That's,
we're going to have that meditation on the 21st. Yeah.
So that's we need to keep that up because there's so many people that are still blaming and shaming and guilt and upset and going into their traumas and letting their traumas run them. No, we got to be free of that.
Yeah, and I don't know. This month, we talked about this yesterday, but I've been saying it all month. We're dropping our ego traumas.
Yes.
Like they just, bam, they're falling out. And it's very traumatic for people.
It is. So I'm going to go through again the seminar I took a couple of years ago about releasing trauma. And when I did it about a year and a half ago, and I was listening to it and it said to read this passage. And so I was reading it. And as I was reading it, the emotions of my child, like, traumas just came up. And it just felt so good to absolutely love myself at that young age when I was irritating mom and being slapped around because I was a 3-year-old, so I had no idea what had,
And
but
that's
being
the way we
slapped
were
around,
brought up back then, right?
right? Yeah. So when I loved that child and kind of rescued her, it was just the most amazing feeling that I had with that. And there's probably more that I haven't looked at or went back to, and I've been told that no, you don't have to go back and relive the experience, but I didn't do that. All I did was just saw what I need to see and just to feel that love for myself. And it was something I was denying myself. I had no idea that I was. So
And it's so easy just to think that everything's okay. It really, and I do a lot of work similar to that with other people. And
I did one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you and I did one.
Yeah, but the visions I get of history are just so interesting. I get a first-hand view of people who've been there and what's happening. But it has been a trauma-filled history.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think part of the reason why I'm having these nightmares from time to time is I'm releasing trauma. Like people don't realize how beautiful life is, and all walks of life, not just human beings, but animals and plants and on all of this. And when you do it without any respect, that's trauma. And that trauma is propagated, it's spilled out and affects people who were not even involved in that. So
when we do good, it comes out like a
yes.
We do the negative, it also affects like an echo.
Now, well, the one thing about grace is that whatever negativity we put out never is equal to the good.
Yeah, that's true.
That the good is tenfold or even more.
Yeah, the one light worker is equal to 38 non-light workers, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
And goodness gracious, I can feel my guides all around.
Yeah, well, this is a very
almost high-fiving,
very important message, actually. And I do know when I forgave myself for the stuff that I had done and realized it was simply lessons, it didn't define me. That's when I started to grow.
Yeah.
And
unless it's not a life sentence.
Exactly. And well, I let a con man con me out of a whole bunch of money, and that caused my kids and me to live in a very low level of existence for a while. And I felt so bad about it, and I was blamed by other people for it. And then one day I just suddenly realized, it was an experience. It was a lesson.
Right. And when you go to college, you spend money, right, to learn. So you just spent money to learn. That's all.
Exactly, I did.
That's your college degree for human life.
Right. But the fact that I realized forgiveness was the
key.
The key, and then self-love comes after that.
Yes.
And with that, you can just accept that, hey, we're human.
Yeah, and I also want to tell you, that there is a book out called How to Get to Heaven Without Really Dying.
Oh, yeah, that's be a good book to have.
As soon as my credit card comes in, I'm going to order that. Speaking of many books that I've not read, that seems to be something that I need to read.
That would be fun. With a title like that, it's probably fun to read.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is freedom really? Freedom is that we have the free will. Now we have our lessons and we chose them for coming in. So as we experience different levels of learning, I'm going to put that. I was going to say something else, but sometimes these lessons are really tough, and they're to contrast with the love and the forgiveness that's there while we are in our spirit form. And we come here to experience this, to learn more about how powerful and amazing unconditional love really is. And one of the things is that I had told you about that I had listened to some people who have had what they call as near-death experiences.
Yeah.
But I did see one from a lady who writes books and is very scientific about everything. And she said, no, it's not near death. I died. And I was restored. So I call it a temporary death.
Oh, I like that.
Temporary death. So I like that term. So what happened, I believe it was, I'm pretty sure it was hers. She was healed from her cancer. But before she went, when she was left her body, she went into this dark velvety space. And I like to call it the void or the womb. Like, when we're being birthed, we're in a womb. And then when we go into heaven, we're in a kind of a womb-like atmosphere. But not everybody experiences that, just some. So anyway, she goes to that because she was pretty depressed. And she got the cancer and she thought it was grace to her because she really couldn't handle the loss of her husband, who had committed suicide after he was stealing from I'm just going to have to, I'm sorry, put that on hold. He was stealing from his company, and he also ran around on her. She had no idea. She was just devastated through the whole thing, and she thought the cancer was taking her to heaven, and so she was really kind of happy with it. So, but then when she went into, after she was in this dark space and she experienced some things, then she went into a white room, and she was just observing everything in this white room, and she was seeing the door at the end. She was, I'm going, once I get through that door, I'm going to heaven. She was determined. And just before she got to the door, she experienced the nurse who had promised her that she wouldn't die, sobbing in grief.
Oh.
And so her heart went out to this nurse who was sobbing that she had lost this lady. And so she said, okay, I'll go back. So, but in that white room, she was healed from the cancer and everything else, that the damages that were done because of all the chemicals in her blood, that was all gone.
Really?
So, right. So she came back to what?
That's very exciting, actually.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. It doesn't everybody, because sometimes I have to go back and cure the cancer in the body. But she, I don't know, she might have been an evolved being, I don't know. But anyway, she went to this next, they were going to take her to a better hospital, a more trauma center type thing. And when she was in the ambulance, the angel that was with her in the white room was there and singing to her. And she says, well, what's going on? And what did that white room mean? What were those things that I saw, this little things? She said, well, you couldn't see it because what they were cleansing you. And the cleansing apparently takes place before anyone goes to actual heaven. If they have all this negativity and
It make-
judgments and all of this,
Yeah,
that's washed away.
because I noticed when I talk to people who have passed over and they come back to talk, they don't have the same narrow viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be more broadened. And I thought because I used to belong to the Spiritualist Church, and the minister there kept telling me, everybody, just because they're dead, that doesn't mean they've changed the personality. And when I talked to them, they were definitely highly evolved. So that's kind of interesting to hear that.
Well, also, she was still feeling the same way. She was still thinking and having a lot of her likes and dislikes and so forth and so on. And she asked the angel, I want to know what happened to my husband in the spirit because he committed suicide. And the angel said, it's none of your business.
Sure, I like that answer.
So he's on his path, and I ask you to just to send him love. Don't send him, why did you do that? Don't send him, how could you do this to me? Just send him love.
Yeah.
And you see, that in itself is freedom. You know, we talk about forgiveness. That's what that is.
Mhm.
It's actually freeing yourself from these burdens and these things that can harm you
Yeah.
and produce disease in your body.
So yesterday I was talking to a lady and she knows better, but she forgot and she took on somebody else's energy and she was quite stressed. I said, I told her, I reminded her, you don't have to do that. And she goes, oh yeah. And she let it go.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I saw a young woman the other day who was struggling, and she had said something to me that sparked me to tell her that she was a divine, sovereign human being, and that she said that she was an empath, and it was very hard for her to work with the people that she says I could feel their energy, and I start to tighten up. And I said, you don't have to do that.
No, you don't.
And so that white room that I was talking about, you can bring it here. You can let that, you just go in the white room and just let it go.
Yeah.
You can bring it here.
But a mature empath knows that. It's the people who are just beginning and they think they have to take it on and hold it. They don't know that. But
She was like 20.
yeah, well, you can be 50, 90 and still not know it.
Absolutely. She's brand new to it, though. You know, she was also learning to tell her boyfriend to not be so negative around her.
Okay, so she was learning to set boundaries too. Boundaries seem to be another form of freedom that people don't understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your power is your freedom. Your freedom is your power.
Yeah, and it's our choice whether we pick up on other people's junk. We don't have to. We can say, okay, I recognize it, but don't own it. And that's something that I deal with often, is people picking up on other people's stuff. And people have a very hard time understanding that you don't have to own it. It's not theirs.
Yeah.
But it's pretty powerful when you figure it out.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people that want to have control over others. And that's what our whole political system is based on.
Yes.
And people getting over on each other. There's a lot of these stricter things. And I was thinking about how humanity right now is saying no to having to work without going to the bathroom when they need to. Or like this one, I think it's in one of these larger companies that dock the person to actually track the employees as to when do they go to the bathroom, and if they spent too much time in the bathroom, and all of this sort of stuff. So they automatically assume that their employees are taking from them or stealing from them. And that kind of mindset is not.
No, that's not, that's the old mindset. And that's what that needs to go.
And the other thing is it's about wages and about how people think about paying for energy exchange and stuff like that. And there's all sorts of levels of that. And that's all about control. So when I was a teenager learning how to charge for babysitting and things like that, I always had this little concern that, well, if I ask too much, they're not going to hire me.
Right. Yeah.
Right. From the time I was a teenager on. So I always allowed myself to have been dictated by the hiring person what I was going to get up to a point.
Yeah.
And then I realized who my source really is. It is not the company that I work for or the person that's using my services or whatever. So if you want prosperity and freedom in your life, you need to ask for it and you need to go for it. You know, and I talked to this one lady who used to live in, and she was born and raised in Iran. And she married a very rich man. And he, at that time, because of the Muslim ways of doing things, the wife was just there to bear children and to serve him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Then so then she started asking God, not her husband, but asking God for money so she could leave him. So then one day, after a month of her praying for every day for prosperity, for money, so she could get the children and leave and go to America, he suddenly said, well, I'm going to buy you this building and I'm going to put it in your name. And he said, for future. And he had no idea what he was doing. So the building was purchased, and that was only in her name. So she was able to come to America with her children and then sell the building and then start a little nest egg here.
Oh, nice.
So you don't know how these things are going to work out, but if we look to our employers or our whatever, we're going to get exactly where our consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think we have to be docked for our time and, be there at 8:30, not 1 second past, and then go to the bathroom at 10 o'clock, not 1 second past, all those things, that's something that you have bought into.
Yeah. That's
so
what,
it didn't have to be that way.
it doesn't, no. So that's, do you know who Doctor Who is?
Yeah, I'm a bit familiar with the character.
So one of the things I say often is when you're on the spiritual path, you need to think outside of the box. Unless you're a Whovian, then you think inside of the box because it's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, when we put expectations on how things have to be, that's how they're going to be. But if we take away expectations, then your husband can go buy you a building so you can leave.
She had no idea. She didn't ask that her husband do that. She just asked for prosperity so she could leave him because he was treating her subhuman. And she said, I deserve better than this.
Yeah. And that was a non-expected outcome, right? And
right. She had no idea how it was going to manifest. She just knew that it would.
Yeah. And that's the trick, right? You put out your expectations, or not the expectations, you put out what your desires, then leave your expectations in a bag.
Right, and it is about freedom. Now, when people ask for, oh, I want a job that pays $90,000 a year. Well, what is it really? It really is that I want the freedom to be able to afford a new carpet or a school for my child or whatever. So that's where the vibration is, not exactly on that, that you're going to get the job for $90,000 a year.
Yeah.
It might just pop in that it's 62,000, but you get a bonus of 30,000 a year, and then you don't know how that the universe is going to line up for you.
And that's the hard part to explain to people. No expectations. And I've seen this quite often, actually. And I try to explain it to people, and it's very hard for them to hear.
Well, there's also a point, where we become open to what that really means. And a lot of times it requires us to bump into ourselves for a few minutes, days, months, years, until we figure it out, like, oh, that's what Elisha meant. Expectations kind of means releasing, letting go, let God, and not trying to control it, because controlling is limiting.
Well, this is not trust, is it?
No, not trust.
Yeah. And it was you I was talking to, I think, about trusting the journey. Yeah. And that I read that line a month or so back, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Just trust the journey.
Yeah. Well, in most of the people that have come back from dying have said that the message was to love.
Mm-hmm.
So that it seems like what? Like, but we can do anything we want, but we keep striving for unconditional love in ourselves, for ourselves, and for others.
Yeah.
And it can manifest in so many different ways.
It's amazing. It really can. Our life can change overnight and be very positive.
Exactly.
But
my life changed overnight.
Yes, it
Many
did.
times.
And you took it and you flew with it. You took a negative and you turned it into wow, this is going to probably be one of your most exciting periods in your lifetime.
Yeah, well, I'm just enjoying myself. So,
but you're
learning about all kinds of things, and also resting a lot, because I really needed to rest.
Yeah, and right now, Spirit actually was saying part of the problem with us is we're ascending so fast. We need to sleep. We need to rest more. Right,
and yeah, the crystalline DNA. Oh my goodness, is that thing? So we got to be able to hold more light for that fifth dimension.
Do you know anything? Do you think that has anything to do with B12? The loss of B12, the switching out? That's just a personal.
No, I don't know. I think we are going to be asked to become nutritionally correct, and we have to listen to our bodies. And when I was low on B12, boy, did I take a lot of B12 after that.
Yeah.
And it was because I was vegetarian and was not getting enough of the right proteins and vitamins and minerals that I became deficient in that. But I have supplemented with that vitamin B12 and with vitamin D and zinc, because a lot of our diet comes from depleted soils, and we need those minerals, absolutely need them. And so we have to listen to our bodies to keep our bodies strong, and we have to move. Actually, that's the last couple of days I haven't been out, but I need to go back to walking every day. And when I was walking every day, I was walking every 3 miles a day.
That's pretty good.
And now I'm just walking a mile a day. So,
Yeah. I'm
uh,
kind of scared to go walking right now because of the snow and ice.
well, okay, then you
I go
figure,
to Walmart and walk.
oh yeah, you can also get a treadmill or whatever, or go to a gym. Who knows? But I have something like that here that occasionally I'll get on, but I have to motivate myself and become that person who is loving myself enough to do the meditation, to eat right, to exercise, and to rest.
Yeah.
It's all about love, and it is freedom. Because then if I'm eating to squelch or to make myself feel better, rather than just say, okay, I'm feeling like crap right now. What is it that I need to know? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Instead of reaching for, some people reach for drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, so the drug use, I don't know down where you are, but in BC, the drug use has gone up 26% in the last 2 years because of COVID.
Right. It's stressful, right? So we need to think about what our stress is, and that's a kind of enslavement. And so, okay, why am I stressed? What is going on with me? What do I need to do to de-stress? And sometimes it's just getting up and dancing. And I mean, it's just so amazing about how the answers come when you start asking. And you can put it on paper and you can say, okay, I'm feeling this way. What's really going on?
And it's usually something different from what you think it is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So one of the things that I've done is when I was feeling kind of down the other day, is I started listening to um, or watching YouTube on people being kind to each other and doing these amazing things. And it just like made my heart big and made me feel good. And,
Yeah.
and then I put on Josh Rogan's You Lift Me Up and Hallelujah and all that. I just really love those songs. And so I find myself singing, or I'm doing it, or go on to doing a chant, or I listen to people's success stories or their MBEs or whatever. I just want to continue to feed myself
Positive.
goodness.
Yeah, positive energies. I,
Yeah,
I like chants myself. I keep saying we should go online and have a chanting session one day, and I never do it, but I think it's a good idea.
oh,
You know,
well, one of my favorites is the Green Tara chant,
yeah,
but I also like, I think it's called Giatri Matri. Oh my goodness, is that beautiful. And that a lot of times when I listen to it and kind of just take it in, that the rest of my day is peaceful.
it's amazing what the chants can do. And a simple om, it's actually put in 3 parts. O, ma,
Um,
om, because it's a Hindu word, right?
yeah, AUM.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And one of the ladies I talked to, she was explaining that it's 3 parts to the word, and it means eternal. Basically, it means the light.
Or the universe or God or whatever. It's just like all that there is.
Yeah, it's like
All that is
yeah.
comes to me. And a lot of my meditations is that I bring all there is to my heart
Mm-hmm.
and radiate divine love from there. And if I'm radiating anything else but divine love, then I'm doing something wrong. It's just, I don't want to even go out until I'm radiating love. Because
Yeah,
I mean, there are so many crazy people on the highways and in the grocery stores, and people who are very angry about something.
yeah, yeah.
That
But
it's
then you also run into really super nice people in the grocery stores.
absolutely, so it depends on where you are, and if I'm not exactly in the right mood, I see people who are cutting in front of me, who
Yeah.
reach across me when I'm looking at something on the shelf and I see his hand come across. How rude. You know?
That's being called waking up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah, and a lot of people have. And,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
But,
so,
but you find, right, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and your day just gets worse.
right. Well, I tell you what, I wanted to tell you what this one motivational speaker said, and I started it today. When you look at yourself in the mirror, first thing in the morning, first you go, you brush your teeth, whatever, give yourself a high five. You got this.
That's a good idea.
And I felt great. I've been feeling great all day.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the tricks I tell people to do is when they're not feeling good about themselves, is step out of your body, look at your body as simply who you truly are, which is light. And you're so beautiful that that all the feelings of the body sort of, oh, not that important. At least that's one of the tricks I use when I'm not feeling happy with life.
We're so much more. And that's one reason why I look at the NDEs, because that's what happens to a lot of people. When they pop out of their body and they look, well, what's that? Oh, that's me. No, that's me. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just so surprised.
Yeah, and when you realize, we talked about this last week, the building blocks of this universe are love. And so if you step out of your body, you're stepping into unconditional love.
Yeah.
And it's only our own patterns. I think it's a lot of patterns rather than realities that we follow.
Well, I often hear people say that have been to the other side that this is a kind of a dumbed down version. That it's just not as beautiful, not as,
No,
it's very difficult for a magnificent spirit to occupy this human body.
it's like
And
walking through mud.
yes, I've heard that. Or like this being like sucked in like a straw. So there's so many ways to describe it, but a lot of them said heavy and painful.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are all considered to be heroes by the spirit world.
Yeah, I know when I go to the other side to talk to people, the magnificence is not overwhelming, it's startling. The mountains, the clearness of the lakes, the brightness of the canoe, things like that, or the smell, clearness of the air. It's just, oh my God. It's like on top of a mountain with nobody around for miles, and the trees have made of pure fresh oxygen.
Right. And they vibrate. They
Mhm.
send their energies to you.
Oh yeah.
And if we are aware, we can hear them here.
Yeah, I haven't done the walk for quite a few years, but there's a place here and it's a park. It's called Little Mountain Park, and it has a walk, and it's nature walk. The pathway is maintained, but nothing else. And the trees, when I used to go through there, you could almost feel them going, oh, hi again.
Oh yeah, I've talked to trees.
Yeah.
Talked to a couple of grandmother and grandfather trees, and they're very communicative.
Mhm.
If you allow yourself to be open to it.
Yeah, there was
They-
one. Go ahead.
Well, I remember this one particular grandfather tree that said he's not long for the world, and about a month later, it was just the grandmother standing.
Oh,
It was just, kind of sad. I'm glad grandma's okay.
yeah. And it's kind of interesting that they knew,
Oh yeah,
and it wasn't a fear in them either, I suspect.
not a big deal to him,
Mm,
it's not a human in him.
yeah.
It's a masculine-ish kind of energy,
Uh-huh.
and how he kind of reached over to the other one. It was just amazing to look at them every day that I would go by them.
Was it you was talking about they have an underground communication system that goes from North America right down to South America?
And all around the world, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He talked through mycelia,
Mhm.
Which are the fungi in the world. They don't, most fungi don't have chlorophyll, but they have mycelia, and they bring nutrients as well as messages to each other.
Okay, that makes sense. And so the Fey energy would be very tied into that.
The what?
The Fey, the fairy energy.
Fairies. That's what I thought you meant. Fairies.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely. Fairies.
Have you noticed there's more Fey energy coming into the world right now?
I am very aware of that. Yes. It's not that they're coming into the world, it's just that they're being noticed more, and
They're
then
more
they're
aware, yeah.
celebrating because they're being noticed more. And a
Mhm.
friend of mine who did not, her sister did not believe in these fairies, was on a walk with her and saw a fairy, and she photographed it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. They're hard to photograph. They
I
don't get photographed unless they want it.
impossible, you know. So, I mean, I've never seen the fairies. I'm aware of them, but I never seen them.
Yeah.
But my friend who is kind of witchy woman, and she really understands the fairies and stuff. She talks to them all the time. She went to my place and she said, "Your trees are not happy with you." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you didn't ask for permission to take the dead tree out." There was a dead tree that was standing, and I had a lumber, a tree service come out and get it.
Yeah. We
But they
forget.
missed their friend, even though their friend was gone. I mean, the structure, I didn't ask their permission.
Yeah, and we forget because it's not traditional. We forget how much we need to start communicating with all levels of it of life.
All levels of life, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty intense. By the way, just so you know, it's 12:50. Did you want
Okay,
to do a biofield before?
yes, I'll do about a 5-minute one. Just a taste for everybody, okay?
Okay, and thank you ever so much. It's been wonderful I just love our talks, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And I will pass on what people tell me about it to you. But I'm leaving now. Namaste, and must go. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay. All right, so now I'm getting ready to send a biofield healing energy immersion. It's be about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe that long. And what I'm going to do is work in the silence, and I invite everybody that's listening now or in the future to become relaxed and open and allowing for this energy to come into their field. And it is the field of no thing and no one that has the power to create more beauty, more love, more peace, more prosperity, whatever it is that you would like to have in your life. So I'd like you now to just take a deep breath in and become very, very relaxed. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Just becoming open and receptive to these beautiful, lovely, healing energies that God and Mother Earth so willingly gives you. And now I'm going to go into the silence, and when the energy field, biofield energy is now complete, I will let you know and bring you back. Enjoy. Now the biofield energy healing immersion is now complete. And I invite you now to open your eyes when you're ready and to have a most awesome and blessed, beautiful, loving week. Until next time, bye now.